Hey everybody, this is a how-to video on GitHub Desktop and its usage. So I will be initially going over how you can use GitHub Desktop instead of commands to push or pull uh, repositories or to commit new changes or new files to your repository. So this will be really useful if you are new to Git and GitHub because GitHub Desktop basically has a user interface and is much simpler to use. So and you will be using either Git or GitHub in this quarter, either for your assignments or for your group projects. So let's get started. So if you go on to Google and type GitHub Desktop, you will be brought to this website here. So it will be in the first or second link that shows up. So here, if you look at the installation files here, you can choose the appropriate files, whether if it's for a Windows machine or for a Mac OS, for Mac OS. And once you're done with the installation and launch the application, you will be asked to log in with your GitHub credentials. So I hope all of you are familiar where to find that. So you go on to GitHub, and if you click here on this icon here, you'll see this will be your username and the password is what you already set. So once that is done, you will get to this page here. So since I've already been using GitHub GitHub Desktop, I am not able to get the screen on my application as part of the demo. But once you do this, once you're logged in, it'll show you it'll show your repositories right here, and it'll show all the repositories that you own here. So what you can do is either you can create a repository on your own locally and then push it, or you can clone a repository from the internet. So I will be going over the technique to create a repository on github.com and then pulling that repository over here. So to get started with that, so this is the next screen that will show up once you click on the repository to uh, clone. So let me just get started. And initially, so my So let's this folder is where I will be cloning a repository which I'm going to create up on GitHub. So I'll go over that as well. And then once that is done, let's see how you can do various functionalities here. So going on to GitHub .com here. So this will be your homepage. Uh, Once you click here and you go to your repositories, you will find the multiple repositories here that have been created. So some of this I've already created as part of a demo in the previous quarters. But to get started, if you click on the new here, it is going to ask you what the new repository is going to be. So here, let me create a repository which is going to be COGS 108 underscore git desktop. So this is going to be my repository's name. And you can choose it to be a public repository or a private repository, and this can be spoken about later. But you can add a readme file here. You can add a GitHub git ignore file here. So the git ignore and the readme file addition to your repository is again part of your assignment one. So I'll be choosing the Python template for now. So this can be changed as well in the future. So once this is done, I'm going to create my repository. So this is so once this uh, gets created, you can see that I have a README file, a .md file, which is, and a git ignore file here in my repository. So I have nothing else. I have only these two files. So once I go on to Git, desktop, I will be in this window where you can find your repository here. So once you find that, you can clone it to your desktop. So let's see how that can be done as well. So if I go here and say clone repository, it is going to uh, fetch all my repositories here. So if you look here, the repository which I created a while back has been reflected here. So this is the repository which I want to clone on my local machine, and I want to clone it. As I told you guys, I want to clone it in this location. So I want to clone it here. So I'm going to select this folder and select this repository and click clone. So once this gets cloned, uh, you can see that I have a folder created in this uh, uh, location where I intended to clone the repository. So if I go in here, these are the two files that showed up on my GitHub repository. So uh, so here, let's just go ahead and let me try to make a change here. So let me go ahead here and let us say I create a text document. So I'm going to call it sample. So this is the sample text document I created, and I am going to type something like, I'm not sure if you guys are able to see this because I'm getting some kind of a notification here, but I am going to type let okay. So I'm not sure if you guys were able to see that, but I am going to type uh, I'm going to type ABCD here in the sample text, and I'm going to save it here. So once I save this file, and let me close it. So now from a GitHub repository which I cloned from github.com, I made changes to that repository on my local machine. But I want this change. So I want this sample text document. So instead of sample this text document, let us say it is a Python notebook file which you worked on and you want to share it with your group mates. So what you would do is you simply go on to GitHub Desktop. So GitHub Desktop automatically detects a change here. So it detects the changes made here, which is an addition of sample.txt. So that's what it says. It's a new file with a plus sign, which says it's a new sign. So here, what I do is, so it's very simple. If I want this to reflect onto my GitHub repository, what I will have to do here is I'll have to type a message here, which is going to be created sample.txt. So this description is optional, but you can just go ahead and say uh, contains this change, or whatever. So you can give a short description of what you worked on, and once you click commit to main, it's going to commit the changes, and then there'll be an option here or here. So you have a local commit which is waiting to be pushed to GitHub. So that's the message that's going to show up. So once you get that, you can either click the button here or this one here, which is going to push the change that you made in your local machine to your GitHub repository. Also, you can see you can change repositories here as well. So let's say you have multiple repositories to work on. So this was another repository which I cloned last quarter. So I can switch repositories here, and I can see the repositories here, and I can check where the if any other changes if I worked on needs to be pushed and all of that. So let's just go back to our repository here. So this is the repository, and we just made pushed to the GitHub repository here. So if I go ahead and refresh this, you can see that I have a sample.txt created with the ABCD which I typed in my local machine. So these are the basics of how you can clone a repository or initially pull a repository from GitHub and then work on your changes and then push it back. So let us say I again want to make a change to sample.txt here. So instead of ABCD, I'm going to type 1, 2, 3, 4, and let me just go ahead and save it and close the file. So once this is done, if I go on to GitHub, you can see which says you have a orange dot, which signifies modified, which means, and it shows you the changes that you made as well. In line number 1, instead of this, you've typed this. So this is what uh, the message also will look like. And let me just go ahead and say updated sample.txt, and then again I'm committing it to main, and then it's the same exercise where you again commit to main and then push it, and then you push it to origin. So pushing origin means it's going to push it to your repository here. So let me just go ahead and refresh it again, and you can see that it says I have a change made 20 seconds ago. And if I click onto this, you can see that the change which I made has been reflected. So another the same exercise, which is that let me just go ahead and delete this file, and let's see if that's being detected by GitHub Desktop as well. So once I delete the file again, you can see that it says sample.txt has been deleted. So again, if I commit this to main and push origin, again, the same change is going to get reflected in your repository here. So you see that the sample.txt has disappeared, and these are the basics of how you can manipulate GitHub Desktop. And with this simple UI here, you can avoid the commands. If you're new to GitHub Desktop, Git and GitHub, you can always start off with this and then get used to uh, the Git commands and all of that. So this is the basic working of GitHub Desktop, and you guys can always email me if you have any doubts, or you can visit the office hours or the discussion sessions where we will be helping you out this week with this week as in week 2 with your assignment 1, and which essentially contains the setting up of Git or GitHub Desktop as well. Thank you.